Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel here. It's the Mac. Welcome back to another showcase of a Wargame design studio game. Panzer Campaigns Minsk 44, man. This is the game of the week. And it was launched yesterday, Monday, and it's Tuesday today. So I'm going to get my review up on the channel if you guys check it out if you're interested in getting this pretty badass game this week. It's on the sale as they have Game of the Week. Right, so I want to thank Wargame Design Studio for actually getting me a review copy. I actually do own a lot of these titles, but still a few that I don't, and I will showcase them to you guys here on the channel, so you get first-hand view of what's in store in the game. So, right, let's get into it. So Minsk 44, man, the destruction of Army Group Center. This is like pivotal, groundbreaking. This was the main event in 1944, the summer of 44. There, the huge Bagration. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Many people pronounce it differently, but Bagration. It's a name from a. I'm not sure if it was a Belarus commander or was a Ukrainian commander during the Napoleonic Wars, but I'm not sure. But it was the name of a famous general, anyway, who fought Napoleon in the 1812 campaign in Russia. Anyway, so Bagration was a huge undertaking of the Russian army, man. They had amassed tons of troops, and it was actually like a skillful deception of the Germans. The Germans were actually fooled in this. They never expected the Russians to launch the major assault around Minsk. They thought they would continue their progress in Ukraine as they had, the previous operation there. So they were taken, pretty badly on the flip side there. So this title actually covers the whole operation up to the capture of Minsk, basically. So it's all here. It's what's included in the titles. I think it's like 82 or 83 scenarios, and there's a couple of big ones, like campaigns, like this one here, 129 turns. It just says Minsk, and they had 129, could be 168 is the largest one, I think. So, that's kind of small in Wargame Design Studio standards from some titles. I mean, some of them are like 400 or 500 turns long, but it's 168 turns, that is, and then they break it down. We'll be looking at the planning map here, and some really good stuff that comes with the game. We have the notes. We're going to look at those, but I'm just going to go with this for a little while. So you guys get the picture for people who might not really know the operation here. So they had the 1st Baltic, the 3rd Belarusian Front, 2nd Belarusian Front, and the 1st. And they were attacking these Vitebsk, Orsha, and Mogilev, and then Bobrisk, whatever it's called. 9th Army there. It was defending in the 4th Army, the German 3rd Panzer Army, and the 16th Army there. So this is where the actual operation started here. So yes, what I said was, I don't have a bigger map, but further, the Germans never really were not anticipating this attack in the Army Group Center. Remember, the Army Group Center was the operation group that actually was tasked of almost capturing Moscow there, and they have had sort of not that much action going on there for a long time, and they had battle-hardened divisions here for sure, but they've been, depleted as well because they've been taken, piece by piece, reinforcements for other operations around the front. So it was defended by a fairly small amount of troops, and the Russians were attacking with in some of these places here they had 10-1 odds in favor of infantry and attacking, and they had ridiculously huge amounts of artillery assets they had a new war doctrine as well. The Russians have learned after all those years of massacres. They had their own sort of blitzkrieg tactic going on as sort of their own adaptation of it. And by the way, the Russian Air Force was basically dominating these guys because the Luftwaffe was in a sorrowful state by this time of the war, A lot was also on the West Front, fending off all those bombing raids from the British and Americans there. So the Luftwaffe was a former shell of itself. So the Russians had a huge advantage in air power as well. So they had basically an advantage in everything basically. Definitely in quantity, not quality, but quantity. So what they did, the Germans usually, the Blitzkrieg tactics was usually, to concentrate on a certain part of the line, and really, put your effort into it and sort of smash through that, and then come behind the enemy, to breach it and then funnel in the rear. And the Russians had the same, but they picked a few points to smash through, a bit different, it was a bit different. They didn't they used a lot of artillery in those attacks, and they also punched holes with sort of infantry divisions and not so much mobile forces, and they kept all their mobile forces in the rear, and they used those mobile forces then to funnel through and really encircle and isolate these forces that were left defending there. So it was almost the same, but then not maybe exactly the same, but it's like the Russian version of Blitzkrieg basically. So this is where the operation started. So they, Betsk was a massacre for the Germans. They lost I think overall the Germans lost over 30 divisions were captured, killed, or destroyed, and taken out in this attack. 30 divisions, man. Somewhere in the range of 450,000 casualties, which was a huge blow to the German army because they didn't have any possibility to fill those gaps and get those reinforcements and their expensive equipment and stuff to replace it. The Russians had that, they had the manpower. They just threw in the bodies. They lost almost 800,000, which is crazy. But they were attacking. So attackers usually loses more than the defender. But it was, well, we all know about Russian tactics. How much an individual soldier's life is worth. It's worth basically the dirt on your shoes, basically. So they had the people to throw in there. And so they didn't care about casualties or anything, but the Betsk fell, and there was, another really bad thing, of course, was the hold fast, the stand fast, and not retreat an inch that Hitler ordered. And this was like a death sentence to basically the whole German army on the Eastern Front, because the German doctrine was mobility. It was all built around to be mobile and to do a controlled retreat, strike back, maneuver warfare, and the Germans were tied down to their defending lines, being smashed and smashed and smashed by overwhelming forces and artillery and everything. So the German tactical doctrine that was so much superior could not be used because they were not allowed to retreat, and every time they requested a retreat order, it was denied. And they had to stay and fight these overwhelming odds, and of course they would be massacred. Ran out of ammunition, whatever. You can only fight so much until your ammo runs out, and then the enemy will overrun you. Especially if they don't care about casualties and stuff. So it was a massacre, man. It was just terrible. I think they had, this Orsha and Margalev was also a disaster, but they had some division here that was actually. They had a few divisions that actually put up a hell of a fight here and had somewhat more of a controlled retreat. But the same happened in Bobrivsky in the south. There was also a couple of divisions that were taken, encircled and destroyed, and they just couldn't fight their way out. So it was a massacre. And so the Russians, they are smashed through here. It's actually covered in this, but the fortress city of Minsk was actually, surprisingly enough, abandoned by Hitler. He could have pulled his forces back, but he waited until they were all dead, and then the remnants said, "Okay, now you can retreat." So Minsk was captured kind of easily by the Russians, and they propelled forward here, man. I think the whole operation was, they went all the way to Warsaw in August, so in those 3 months, man, they just went over 2 months, well, over 700 kilometers, man. It was nuts. It was just, it's crazy. The scale of this operation is just massive, man. It makes Operation Overlord look kind of ridiculous compared to the amount of forces that were involved here and troops, and it's crazy. The Russians also had a huge advantage in the Lend-Lease Act because the Americans had given them tons of fuel and food and trucks. You could say trucks won the war, man. I think I read somewhere it was like ridiculous. It was like, I think the Russian army received over 430,000 trucks from the U.S., which is insane, man. It's like almost 500,000 trucks. I mean, that is, and this is what made their forces mobile. This is what they could also have motorized infantry now that the Germans had so much success with. So the tables are definitely turned, man, like huge. So very, very interesting operation, man. There's so much to talk about this, and so much interesting books and documentaries to watch about this. It's just, but it was a slaughter, man, for the German army. It was just, I mean, they didn't stand a chance here. They were just totally. I mean, maybe if they would have had a controlled retreat and stuff, and they would have had a bigger understanding of what the hell was going on, and not had those stupid orders just holding the lines. They could have probably diverted a lot of people that had died in vain. A lot of German soldiers that died. I think over 50,000 were taken and paraded in Moscow as a victory. 50,000 troops, and after that parade, of humiliation, they were sent to labor camps, and almost all of them died. Worked themselves to death there. So it was just a total humiliation for the Germans, man. It was just they really suffer there. So what we're talking about here is this. I think we should open this up just for you guys to have a look at the main event. I haven't actually seen. I wonder what this one is like. I haven't seen this one. This is 169 turns. I'm not sure. It could actually go beyond Minsk. I'm not sure. I should have probably read the description there, but I didn't do it. This could be like an alternate. This could be some special scenario, actually. All right, so here we go. This is you can see here, man. It's pretty big. So, up here we have Vitebsk. Yeah, this could be some difference. Not sure. I probably should have read what it said there. Let's have a look again. Yeah, what's the thing with this? After some small wrecking force, blah blah blah. So it doesn't actually say. So I think it's the same description as this. There's different recommended rules, though. It's probably in the manual. We'll look in the manual and see if this says anything special about this scenario here. Brian Jennings. There's a different. There's a different designer for this. It's called Brian Jennings. So it could be an alternate take on it and a different sort of evaluation in the units and stuff. But then this is the main event, and then they have all these smaller breakdowns of the different operations, and it's very clearly labeled. If you're gonna, so this is versus the computer. This is. You have the alternate versions, and this is I have in every Panzer campaign title as well. The alternate versions with they have different rules and different PDTs, I think. But then you have head to head. You have the same. You have the alternate head to head version. You have here's something different. This is AI Russian attacker. So this scenario has been optimized for human German defense with a Russian AI on the attack. That sounds interesting. And an alternate version there as well. So yeah, all right. That could be difference. Vitebsk. It's up here, yeah. So Vitebsk was the north. So they have, smaller breakdowns of those operations. So, usually what they do, they have this main event, this huge scenario. Let's actually open this one here. So that's what usually you will find in the Wargame Design Studio games, is that they have, they shoot the whole operation basically, and then they have breakdowns. They have scenarios covering maybe just like a couple of divisions, so you can play, these main events. I mean, you could do the main event of Vitebsk with just the divisions involved in that attack, basically. Or in this case, it would be these divisions smashing in here and cutting off all these troops. So this is a tough one for the. I mean, if you're playing the Germans here, like a head to head, you would definitely just go on a retreat, man. Trying to stabilize, trying to get out of these pockets that are deadly, like this one here as well. Here they will close you in on Zolben, for instance, and this was also captured here. They have these marshlands, but the Russians actually built their own roads through the marsh and stuff. They were really resourceful at this stage of the war. They learned a lesson. So, and here you have the main event, Minsk, and the Germans actually, they wanted to pull their forces back behind this Brezina River here, this natural barrier here that runs all the way through, to set up a defense perimeter here to hold back the Russians. But the Russians were just too fast and just smashed through, and so many of these German divisions weren't allowed to retreat in time, and they were caught in pockets and annihilated before they had the chance to actually get to the safe side of the main river here. So it was a disaster for sure. It was just a total disaster. I wonder if playing this versus a human opponent, if the Germans have any chance at all. I don't know. It's just, maybe if you just pull back like crazy and do what what the Germans were supposed to do, not stand fast and fight, but fight and retreat basically, and try and stop and slow the Russians down as much as possible. Here's there was actually a big tank battle north of Minsk. I don't know really where it was, but it was one of the guard tank armies fighting the 5th Panzer Division. Could be. It was a huge battle there, and the Germans really took out a shitload of armor, but it just wasn't enough of the steamrollers. It was just too many enemy tanks about. I think it was the 5th. So these are the reinforcements. Yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention was that the partisans, some people actually argue that it was actually the partisans that won the fight for the Russians, because the partisans, there was only over I think I read somewhere over 140,000 partisans in these areas, and they had their controlling their own regions and stuff in here, and they, before the main attack, blew up bridges, they destroyed railroads, they took out, supply convoys, and they harassed and they destroyed communications and stuff. It was total madness before that huge red wave attack. I mean, can you imagine the chaos, man? It must have just been total chaos. So, the partisans were huge asset in this, huge asset. So what we have the Almighty Notes. The Almighty Notes is actually 34 pages, but I'm not sure they actually have revised this for this latest version. It seems kind of old. Many of these, what they're talking about here. I mean, it's definitely relevant, but it seems kind of old. you know, considering the level of the game is now, the version and stuff. But you know, but you know, still have it here. I mean, it's still relevant. I would say, but like AI enhancements and stuff. You know, this is old, but partisans retreats, advancing, AI orders and stuff. You know. So they have it here. They have something general. Yes, here we can actually maybe read something about that special scenario that we saw there. It seems interesting. They've employed wire bridges as well. That's interesting. Finally, on the PDT, we started artillery units on both sides as stockpile, as there was a long build-up prior to the battle. Okay, so yeah, that's cool. Here's the scenario list. Okay, I wonder if it's actually updated. Doesn't really seem that. Let's see here. So we have Minsk 062301. Yeah, so this is the one here. But it goes up to a C. Okay, so they have different A. It's the head-to-head ones. That's correct. And they have alternate. And the C one is, I think it says no fixed units. Yeah, so there's no fixed units on the map. That's kind of interesting as well. It's optimized for head-to-head. And this one here, what does it say? It's not actually included here. Can't see it anywhere. So, you know, that is a mystery scenario. It might be written somewhere else. Might be some documentation that I've missed. Maybe the changes file. I'm not sure. Change the supply. Right click now. Enhancements. Not sure. I'm gonna have to look that up. If anybody knows, write in the comments and stuff. Because this seems like a special scenario. It's 168 turns. It's a different designer. It's a bit different kind of. I think it would. It's different kind of troop density and stuff. So it seems to be something special there. Don't think I can see anything here. Let's see. Yes, we have the campaign map. We have the user manual. It's a whopping 245 pages now. Getting started. I actually played the getting started off camera just to get the feel of it. This was a pretty fun scenario, but I'm going to do something else in this because there seems to be a lot of interesting. I want to try the Germans out and see if I can actually stop the Russians. And they have the what's this? This is the summary info. So here they have all the. You know, this is what diehard gamers print out and have as a or on a separate monitor these days. Maybe not. Maybe I missed it, but it seems like an interesting scenario now. Maybe it's in the end or something. Here we go. Here's something. No, 062902. Yeah, so that's way in the back here. Yeah, these are the last. All right. Now, I don't know. Well, I'm gonna have to have a look at it and see what it says. Maybe it said in the start, in that description. Here. Could be a separate file in the game directory as well. Maybe there's a, I don't know, I haven't checked, but maybe there is there could be something in there, like a Word document or something. I don't know. Sounds. Scenarios. Here we go. Look at this. Minsk 44 alternate campaign changes. Oh no, that's the standard one. Yeah, this is one they always have. What's this? Oh, just pictures. All right. I don't know. What's this? Print the data. Okay. No. Oh well. I don't know, man. This is the alternate campaigns, yeah. So I mean the this is what we have. This is the Volcano Man's alternate M44 scenarios, yeah. So they have different the assault, and he's done some changes to the PDT and stuff. So that's a different take on the game, basically. Nah, man, I don't know. I really don't know where we can find information about that scenario. We're gonna have to look it up. As I said, if you guys know, write in the comics, man. So this mystery scenario there, but otherwise it's all broken down. You know, we have all the major, areas that were attacked. So cool. So much stuff in here. Wow, look at all the scenarios. Yeah. So it's all broken down, basically. What else is in there? So they talk about order of battle. So previously mentioned, the primary architect of the OB was Mike Avanzini, and he really began his research in summer of 2004. 22 years ago, man. But yeah, these games are old, but you know they really are brought up to the current standards, man. He says, when we test these games, we play exclusive against the AA, but most of the testers are played by email fans. They could also see what most scenarios best duplicated. So the scenarios designation with an A after the number. Okay, so the A scenarios are the head-to-head ones. Yeah, all right. An additional Minsk 44 offered us a situation where the Soviet attacker had such superior numbers in terms of men, tanks, and guns, and units in general. That situation often lent itself to an adjustment to the scenario for an AI to attack. So for these scenarios, we've used a B. Okay, so often lent itself to an adjustment of a scenario for the AI to attack. So B scenarios are scenario was being optimized for human German defender versus Russian AI attacks. Yeah, so these are it's pretty cool that they've done that. I think it's pretty badass. They don't have any of that on those, but they have on these. You know, 18 turns still. Doesn't we have something in 16 turns there? Here's an 8-turn one. It's like a day's fighting, basically. 20 turns. Cool, you know. This is pretty cool stuff. So both A and B designated scenarios have a designer's note at the end of the overview indicating how the scenario is best played. There's also a note on the title line of the scenario. Yeah. Refers to the German pouring concrete to make some pillboxes as the front line was stagnant and the location for a long period before the battle. However, it's difficult to say how extensive the forts were, only that the front was no Hitler line or anything like that. Okay. Players also have the advantage of slider that they can use. Yeah. We didn't include B versions to the main campaign because the AI will have issues with longer, larger scenarios where the strategic option beyond the original attacker offers many possibilities. They have included a special C copy of the campaign, one that is the same as the head-to-head campaign, but with no fixed units. Yeah, we know that. This is not really historical, as all the reserves can move when the first shot is fired, even before the historical intent of the attack will have. Okay. action. The south flank didn't begin the first day. However, we elected to do this scenario various off the so they had that one with no fixed units that we saw. It's worth noting that in most sectors in the day before the attack there was increased Russian activity to wreck the front lines. Most often these actions were confined to company, each frontline battalion. These objectives were rather limited. Okay, but with the scenario we took liberties. Okay, the end date of the campaign was set 13 days into the battle. This is when the Russian attack started to slow down and lost steam as the supply lines got stretched. Okay. But they actually continued, you know, for quite a while after that. Wired bridges, yes. In the early goings, experiment with flexible zones of control in the game. Finally, on the PDT, that's what we said about stockpiles. The Russians have 100, but the Germans have 150%. So, also for the Adriopoulos lines. Okay, so, you know, doesn't say anything about the scenario. Wow. Okay. Well, whatever, man. Yeah. So I think that would, you know, we could have a look. I mean, we're gonna play something here, man. I'm gonna do something. I don't know what, but it's gonna be exciting to see. You know. I just want to open this up. I'm so intrigued about this scenario here. But you know, we're gonna be playing something cool. See how it goes. Great game, this though. Yeah, you could tell that there's some difference here. Look at this. It's all, you know, they have this different coloring and, you know, I'm not sure about the units and stuff. It looks like it's a lot different, you know? Like there's a lot of German divisions. Have they broken through already or no? There seems to be a lot of German divisions in the back here, like a lot. It's kind of strange. Are they partisans? No. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. So this has included all the partisans. That is pretty cool, you know. So that these partisan units are here. Wow, you can see the extensive of the partisans, man. It's pretty nuts. Wow, okay, that could be the difference if they've included that. It's a nightmare for the Germans for sure. Army Oberkommando 9. So he's in charge of a lot. I would imagine. General Major Hammann. Wow, so many units here. It's crazy. Look at this, man. 110 men facing these like, I don't know, 900, like thousands, you know. it's nuts. Here we have 200 men. Wow. But they have crap morale, but you know, the Germans are not that great either, you know, they got C and stuff. Yeah, wow. Look at the forces here. It's insane. And here are all the mobile troops here, you know, look at this. They have the T-34s, 85s, yeah, the upgraded versions. All ready to smash in there, you know. First tank car corps there, alright. Interesting. What would be over here? IS-2s, man, look at them. Jeez. Wow. It's massive. Massive, massive, massive. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm going to end it here, actually, man. And we're going to be doing a scenario. Hope you guys enjoyed this game. This is a really seems to be like a cool game. I mean, really interesting take on the last ditch of the destruction of Army Group Center there. And so this Minsk 44, man, looks cool. I'm going to do a scenario in this and put it up in the channel in the week. Hope you guys are going to be enjoying that. And we're looking forward to the continuation of the other playthroughs I'm doing at the moment. Army Over Commando 4. So, wow, look at this. Yeah, it's a whole army group there. Huge. Massive, man. Wow, all this stuff. Yeah, all right, so I'll see you guys in the next videos there. Hope you guys have a good one, and take care, and I will see you soon. Have a good one.